Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our new topic for today's discussion. I would like to share to you sa ito ang bagong topic. This is my presentation about uh, St. Thomas Aquinas natural law. Okay, so I hope that nakasubaybay tanong sa ito ang discussion because this is the continuation of Aristotle's virtue ethics. Now, of course, talking about natural law, dagan kay mo come up sa tungod huna, no, and to the extent that we can actually reach to the point nga mingitag natural. Of course, this is something coming from the nature nya magunahuna pud ta, no, nga din man siya nagikan, no, unsa man ning natural law in the version of St. Thomas Aquinas. Now, of course, it's not complete without knowing the background of St. Thomas Aquinas. So St. Thomas Aquinas is originally, no, coming from Italy. No? His name is Tommaso di Aquino. So he is one of the proponents of the Christian ethics. Now, for your information, of course, kaning mong philosophy class, kaning ethics, we have this what we call the Greek ethics and the Christian ethics. And of course, kani si Tommaso di Aquino, si St. Thomas Aquinas, wala na siya nabuhi, no, dungan sa time sa panahon nila ni Aristotle, no. As a matter of fact, nilungtad na sila, no, sa medieval period. Okay, so natawag na to silang Socrates. They were actually born during the old age, no, this is Greek ages, no, anang nga time. And then eventually siguro that was the perfect time that all of the ethical teachings of these Greek proponents coming from Greeks na silang Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, ang ilang mga hinimo was actually pervaded across the globe. Mingitag pervaded, of course, ni kuan ano naka singa na ni spread na, no. So dili tong masinati mingitag Christian ethics, it's normal because St. Thomas Aquinas is a priest. And then we're going to proceed, no, yun sa iyang unsa gid iyang background. So he was born in the year 1225 at Rocca Secca in the Kingdom of Naples or Naples. So in 1244, he was ordained priest despite the stern objection of his parents. Now, naagi objection on yang mga parents about ani. And wala lang kay na fully detailed, but according to the account, this St. Thomas Aquinas belongs to a prominent family. So dato gini sila class nyo, even ang mga igsoon, mga nindot sa itong profession during their time na ay if I were not mistaken, architect and basta mga nindot na mga person, architect, engineer, anak. And si St. Thomas Aquinas is, of course, he preferred to choose to become a priest. No? I think that is part of his call. So in 1248, he underwent a thorough study of the complete works of Aristotle. And it's not a surprise that we can say na St. Thomas Aquinas, he actually embraced, no, the idea of this Nicomachean ethics coming from Aristotle, which is containing of this 10 schools, no? Mutag 10 schools, taas gid ay siya, no? But that 10 schools was actually revised na siya, no? I'm sorry, not revised, but it was actually translated by the scholars. So para mabasahan siya because that was written in a Greek word. Finally, in 1256, he became a master of theology of the University of Paris. So for everyone's information, theology is the study of God. And it is also part of this, what we call philosophy. Okay, so it becomes part of the branch of this philosophy. Okay, the study of the existence of God. And gani, gitawag siya no, angelic thinker. No? And Aquinas was able to write his well-acclaimed continental treatises, the Summa Contra Gentiles and Summa Theologica. I am not particular with the Summa Contra Gentiles and Summa Theologica, but one thing is certain, it is relating to theology also, the study of God. No? So mingotag study of God, how can we study God? That in the first place, we cannot be able to see God. Okay? So sa atong pagtuo as a Roman Catholic, and to the other Christian denominations, we believe that there is the existence of the most sovereign one, no? Labing makagagahom, no? The highest among all of the things that actually exist. But despite the fact that God actually did not prevail himself or did not actually show himself, there are lots of testimonies. There are lots of uh, evidences that there is that existence of God that actually happens, because we can even found scriptures of his kaning mga balaod, no, sa iyang natural law, the divine law, which is considered to be nga diya part ang kaning Bible. Now that Bible was actually authored by different people, and actually, if you're going to examine the facts, they do not actually share the same place and share on the same time, no? Wala sila na tao sa dungan nga oras, sa dungan nga panahon, ug sa dungan nga lugar, no? So diya atong makita that there must be that someone, the sovereign one, that inspires every people, no, nga naghimo aning iyang mga kasulatan nga ug atong takdo, atong tan-awon takdo ug tukma kayo, no, ang iyang kasuguan. So with that, it's very mingon ta og it's very impossible, no? But one thing is for sure, of course, with all of the things that we can actually witness sa tuang pagbukas sa atong mga mata, no? Even with this what we call the amazing kaayong mga structures, amazing kaayong tanan butang, no, even sa tuang lawas sa atong kaugalingon, no, by the natural self of every individual, if we are going to examine, it is actually created perfectly. Okay, so I think if atong kuagbase, no, about sa Dios, na gid siya kasukaran, no, that God actually exists. Now let's proceed unsa gid ay ning natural law. What is natural law? So of course, this natural law, who is authored by St. Thomas Aquinas, is also known as domestic ethics. So if we have this Aristotelian ethics, in honor to Aristotle, who authored this kind of principles applied in the ethics, there is also this what we call the natural law or the domestic ethics, which is to put honor also to the author of this natural law, who is St. Thomas Aquinas. Now, what is in there in this domestic ethics? Of course, as mentioned a while ago, she embraced the idea of Aristotle, most especially kaning to live life by reason. And no, sa domestic ethics, it actually puts emphasis about the importance of reason. As stated there, as you can see, it is the source of the moral law. It directs us towards the good. No? So ang kanideng ato ang reason, no? The reason about the teleology, relating to teleology on how we actually exist, is also or figuratively coined to this what we call brain or the common sense of the human being. No? Na nahimo siyang mo ni tinubdan aning moral law. Nga naman, so kung atong pagkasabdon figuratively, if it is coined, no, o gihalintulad siya or gi-relate siya direkta, objectively, diri sa tuang brain, meaning to say, who is responsible of apprehending this what we call moral law? So if naay balaod, if there's that statement, if there is that law that actually governs in all things, then kung sa may responsible ana, no, nga maka-interpret about ana. So of course, ato din direkta, no, nga makakuha ng atong common sense, di ba? So just like me, sa atong for example karon, I am discussing. Okay? Now, if you allow yourself, no, by means of reason, by means of using your common sense, makakaton gid mo, no, sa ako ang gitabi. Sa ako ang gitabi, because it is the functions of the brain that would actually interpret everything, no? Interpret everything by means of kani pagbasa, pagsinati, pinaagi sa eksperyensya o sa tanan. And of course, this is the reason why that every human being are actually mahug tanong gikuan kita no kana bang we are expected, or we are designed already to go directly with what is good, no? So it actually directs us towards the good. So diha, atong pangutanan, what is actually the ultimate goal of a person's action? No? Ingon diri, it is discoverable within the person's nature. So if it is discoverable within the person's nature, dili sayop ang coin kaning gitawag nato og reason sa atong common sense, because where can we actually find the common sense? So naa sa to ang pagkatao, no? Agani if atong tudloon kani atong brain mao ni siya na diri sa babaw. Okay? And other than that, no? What is the function of that reasons, or the reason that is by nature there in the person's body, or diri sa tuang lawas? Of course, its function is to apprehend or to comprehend, no, with what is good. No, we have to do with what is good and to avoid with what is evil. So tataw kayo, no? Simple kayo na pagkalatid. Now, several variations of natural law. Why is that so? That there are variations, and what are these variations? This may generally refer to theories in ethics. Tinuod, no? Kaya atong gi-define ganyan, it is the highest standard of morality, or it is the systematic principle applied about what is morality. Okay? So meaning to say, kung unsay sakto o unsay sayop, and there is that, it's a theory, there is the basis, systematically, it was actually being examined before it was introduced to people. Mingon tag law. Of course, by a matter of chance, law does not actually exist, but it is actually being designed. And even to the law of the human being, to the law of our society, when it exists, it does not just came out by itself, no? But it was actually created with people. So diya, mingon ta nga, di man ni nagsinukad, di ni nagsukad kaning balaod sa tao. So of course, it actually put basis on this what we call natural law, no? Kay kani bitaw, like example, mingon tag ethics, mingon ta og law balaod sa tao, they are correlated from each other. Like mingon ta og pangawat, of course, in the view of ethics, ang pagpangawat isayop man gyud, no? O gani sa balaod sa tao, gitagaan og pahamtong nga silot, no? Ang kaning pagpangawat, ang pagpatay, which is gibawal po, no? In the view of ethics, it is wrong to kill someone. Okay? Mingon tag philosophy, the study or the love of wisdom. Now, how can every individual have courage to actually acquire themselves wisdom? It's because they have this what we call the moral acquisition. And that moral acquisitions can only be acquired by matter of experience. And with that, of course, you can actually find answers, find wisdom. Okay? In science, everything that applies the general principle in sciences are also covering or also referring to the natural law, no? Like for example, mingon ta og the life cycle of a frog, the life cycle of a mosquito. So why is that so? That every human being give themselves this kind of curiosity, no, to study about that one, because we wanted to know something. We want to investigate something, and of course, we want to know more about life, more specifically the human being. The politics, no? When we say politics, of course, it is the interaction between the group of people, no, functioning in the society. So itong nakita, no? Because everybody has its different endeavors in the society, and we also have our different functions through the natural law. Ato ang may sabtan how everybody actually plays its role and its importance in the society. Engineer, doctor, tigsilig sa karsada, driver og bus, mananagat, mag-uuma. Tanong man ni sila, why does these people actually exist? Of course, for a purpose and for a cause. And that is relating to natural law. Okay? So, being the central thesis back to nature, it always backs to nature. It always look up with the reference coming from the nature, and thus certain there might be ambiguities on how the boundaries of this particular law and particular idea kaning science and politics. But one thing is for sure and certain, no? They are and they belong to this what we call the natural law, meaning to say there is that system that works and governs everything. Now let's proceed. Since it is St. Thomas Aquinas is an avid follower of Aristotelian philosophy, he embraces the Nicomachean ethics. Of course, the Nicomachean ethics is associated with this what we call reason, and that reason makes every human being to become the highest form among all of the creation. So meaning to say, this Aristotelian ethics, according to St. Thomas Aquinas, this is good, no? Because this is something that could actually help the people realize its value and the purpose of its existence. But it's not enough, no? There must be something that that is needed to be added from this in order to become perfect. So unsa man ni, no? So he introduces, St. Thomas Aquinas actually introduces this theological virtues. So if there is that Aristotelian ethics that holds the virtues of every individual, or the virtue ethics, there must be the union or the marriage with this what we call theological virtues. Remember, mingon tag Aristotelian ethics, if we are going to examine sa iyahang mga emphasis dito sa iyang mga gipasabot, it only referring to this what we call connatural virtue. Mingon tag connatural virtue by virtue of its existence, no? Sa kalibutan, ang paglungtad nato sa kalibutan. Okay? It becomes innate to every individual, no? Ang atuang pagkamaayo, ang atuang pagkahibaw sa atuang kapuslanan, sa atong pagkahimugso, that becomes natural, no? That becomes something becomes natawag siya o automatic na siya, no? Because we are created coming from this existence. Now, what about theological virtues? What is this? This actually something that talks about the supernatural virtue. Okay? Nganong na may supernatural virtue? Take note. Si St. Thomas Aquinas is a priest. Of course, more than just celebrating the life willfully in accordance to the law of God, the law of the divine law, which is actually prepared by God for the people. Nagtuo po si St. Thomas Aquinas na dili lang dili kutob ang atong pagkinabuhi, but also we have to look upon the life after death. No? So sa ato pa di ay inikamatay na to nining kalibutan na mao din yung theological virtues nga gipa-apply ni St. Thomas Aquinas. Meaning to say, no, that right after mamatay ta, it's not only that we have to celebrate life here on earth, but after that one, there is that guarantee na ang tao, humang kamatay sa tao, no, musaka ta sa langit, or we have that, we will be facing that kind of another na pod nga kinabuhi, which guarantees this what we call an eternal life. Now, to actually avail or to actually have this eternal life is dapat katumbas po siya no, sa atong pagpakabuhi dinis kalibutan. And what is that katumbas? There you can see faith, hope, and love. So aside from the fact that the Aristotelian ethics introduces this what we call the doctrine of the mean, no, which is very important sa atong pagpakabuhi nining kalibutan, na dapat kabalota na dili masubra o dili makuwang ang atong pagkatao. Sa kang St. Thomas Aquinas also is, of course, we have our mission here on earth, and right after we can actually fulfill that mission here on earth, there is that afterlife na naghatag og garantiya sa kinabuhi nga way katapusan. And of course, before ta musud ana, before ta maka-avail anang kinabuhi nga walay katapusan, we must do something here sa atong kinabuhi sa kalibutan. Nga mo na siyang, there you can see faith, hope, and love. Of course, i-appeal ni nato siya aside from the doctrine of the mean, ato po siyang include kaning faith, hope, and love, because these are what we call the cardinal virtues. They are very important. That becomes a requirement in order for us to reach this what we call beatific vision. No? What is beatific vision? St. Thomas' term for salvation, in which man sees God face to face. So after ta mamatay, according to the philosophy of St. Thomas Aquinas, ni kamatay sa tao, kanino, this is the best time that we can actually see God face to face. And so with that, of course, dili man na nato makabot lang if we will not do something here sa kalibutan. We have to exercise these three cardinal virtues, the faith, hope, and love, for us nga maka-avail ta aning kinabuhi nga way katapusan. So nindot no ang ihapon nga pagpasabot na question. How do we know if the person is acting rightly or wrongly? No? So the answer is, an act is morally right if it is done in accordance with the moral law. So diha no? If it is accordance with the moral law. So what is this moral law? Ningon dia, the moral law comes from God's eternal law. Sa balaod nga walay katapusan. Mabito to niingon ang Ginoo no? I am the Alpha and the Omega. Ako ang sinugdanan ug ang katapusan. Now, the eternal law comes from this what we call divine law. And what does this divine law actually suggest to people? No? Do good and avoid evil. So dili pa lang no, simple ra jud kayo no. Do good and avoid evil. Now, if we are going to have the Bible as a reference, then we are going to look back. Tinuod man yun, no? From the book of Genesis, it actually stated there, God created everything, no? And God did not even intend to actually make the human being like a puppet, no? That we are actually being programmed. It's not like that, no? God actually endowed every human being, even though iyatang gitagag common sense, but still, God actually give us freedom. Kaning gitawag na itong free will to decide. No? Watan niya gihimong robot, no? Watan niya gihimo og something nga mahimong sunod-sunuran niya, no? He actually prepare this divine law para ang atuang sundon kung ganahan ta magmalipayon, ganahan ta nga kana nga magbabungahon ang atong pagkatao no sa atong pagkahimugso ng kalibutan. But wala ta niya gi-control, no? Because we have this free will. So we have our freedom to do kung sa ito ang buhaton. Pero one thing is for sure, nagbilin siya. You have to do good and avoid evil in order to celebrate your life in a very meaningful way. Sa mapuslanon o malipayon, kayo nga paagi. Natural law is something appointed by reason, nothing else than the rational creature's participation in the eternal law. Meaning to say, of course, it actually invited everyone to participate with this what we call eternal law, and based on the principle that good is to be done and pursued and evil is to be avoided. Tinaw kayo, no? Eternal law is the law that sets out the purpose of all things. Mo siya, no? It sets out the purpose sa tanang butang nga linglungtad. Gani gitawag siya final cause. Ano? If the final cause dito sa the final end sa theory ni Aristotle is kaning self-actualization, naapod siya diri. The eternal law is the final cause. Meaning to say, ang pag-amuma, ang pang-ugmad sa kaugalingon aron ta, no, nga maka-avail aning kinabuhing walay katapusan, kaning eternal law. That is the purpose, itawag na to pinaka-innermost purpose of every individual. And who actually issued that one? It was actually issued by the Supreme Creator, the God, the Father Almighty. He is the efficient cause. Nang gitawag mo siya efficient cause, of course, God created human being efficiently to act as a steward in all of His creation. That's the very purpose why God actually created human being. Okay? Now, let's proceed. Question. What is the moral law? The answer is, the moral law is the dictate of reason. So when we say it is the dictate of reason, meaning to say, mao din ano nga, like for example, sa tong kaugalingon, gitagaan tagkaalam sa Dios pero wa ta niya biyae, no? Because we have this what we call conscience. Atay gitawag og conscience, no? Gibutang sa Dios sa tua. Para nga if ever we are going to make decisions, of course, no? Bisan pa og naay panahon nga sukto ang atong pagkatao, no nga usahay mamili ta no nga maka-take advantage ta ana no. Pero mo na ay kalimot nga wa kita gibiyaan sa Dios ana, no? Tagaan ta niya konsensya, no? Konsensya that actually lies beneath sa tuang common sense. Now, let's proceed. General moral principle, do good, avoid evil. Follow reason in understanding the natural inclination of things and actions. Avoid acting against the natural inclination of things and action. So very simple kayo. What is the inclination of the human being? It's natural inclination. Akong balikon, ako na lang gi-mention a while ago, of course, we do not just exist here in this world to have a party, no? Na magbatong tagdaghan kay yuta, daghan kaayong mga kayamanan. It's not like that. We are actually created by God for the purpose that we have to take good care in all of His creation. We will act as a steward, and at the same time, of course, we have to look upon with what is the Lord God, the Father Almighty created sa iyahang divine law. We have to follow that one, no, strictly. We have to follow that one in the way nga mo na makahatag na tuog kaayuhan. Okay? So other things that is outside from the natural inclination, like for example, nagahata mo example, kaning pagpausab sa ilong, kaning everything surrogate motherhood sa pagilain, kaning pag-usab sa tong kinaiyahan, kaning pagbuldos sa mga kahoy, pagpatay sa mga animals which is kuana no kanang kuana sa endangered species. So it is far beyond, no? It is not in accordance to this what we call the natural inclination of things. So those are the example. So take note about that one, no? If this is not true, if this is not something na kanabang maka-enlighten sa tong mind na insakto po, then why is that so that the human being actually suffering right now? So makaingon gitanong ana po'y punto ni siya. Now let's proceed. Another question. How do we know that one is acting in accordance with the good? According to Aquinas, good is that which is suitable to human nature. No? An action is good if it is done with accordance with conscience. Okay, no? Now, Aquinas argued that God created the world according to natural laws. Everything is predictable, goal-driven systems whereby life is sustained and everything functions smoothly. O atong tanaw, no? It's gitawag siya predictable. It's because like this. You don't have a lot of choices in life, no? You were wrong about the certain notions that you're going to think na ang kinabuhi daghan kay kaog choice. There's only two choices, to do good and to avoid evil. Okay? So everything, like example, goal-driven systems. Ang kabayo mukaon og sagbot. Ang kanding mukaon og sagbot. Ang lion, they are carnivores. Mukaon sila og meat. Ang isda mukaon og meat and mukaon pud sila og kining mga planktons. The human being both eat meat and mga kuano green leafy vegetables. We are herbivores. Everything that everything that are created by God were created perfectly. No? Wala gigingon nga himos Ginoo nay kulang. Like for example, pareha niya atong kasing-kasing, no? gimugna sa Ginoo, pangutan-on na to sa may function sa kasing-kasing. Of course, nag-provide og oxygen, no? Mo na siya nag-carry sa atong dugo ara moagi sa atong blood, i-pump sa atong blood that would actually travel all throughout the body, which is very essential for the matawag nato og kining pagdala sa atong mga nutrients sa atong kaon, and even the oxygen that is necessary for the muscles to function, and so on and so forth, no? Wa gihimo ang Ginoo nga gihimo niya nga walay pulos, tanan aduna. Okay, now, and as part of this natural order, God made certain things that were good for his various creatures. And because God is awesome, he instilled all of his creatures with an intuitive desire for the things that he designed to be the best for them. Take note, no? We are created in accordance with what is the best for us. No? Una nga, it is very wrong when someone saying, wa kay gamit, wa kay pulos, because God created you to become someone, to become something also. Now, what are the important contents of this natural law? Of course, dili mawala ang kaning gitawag na to the 7 basic goods. We have number 1, life, no, which actually referring to self-preservation, and eventually refer to this what we call survival instincts. Of course, we have to preserve ourselves. Wa may tao nga ano kanabang nayabag nga dili niya i-preserve iyang self. That's the reason why nga nganong dili man ta pwede mulangoy og lalom if you know yourself nga di ka kabaw mulangoy. Di ba? We have these instincts, no? Natay pakiramdam, natay kutob, no? And other than that, no? What is its message? Of course, we have to take good care of oneself. We have our life. And one way no nga tuang matuman ang atuang natural inclination is kanino pag-preserve sa atong life. You have to take good care of yourself, and of course value other forms of life, no? Kay kana sila na doon na po na sila kinabuhi. Okay, even paghatag og importansya sa mga tao nga naginhawa ubang tao, no? Even ang atong pagbasihan, no, ang atong Biblia kana no tudlo man ang Ginoo na no nga dapat di ta mo patay, di ba? Next, reproduction, to make more lives. So dili tinuod pod, no, nga kaning reproduction part po ni sa atong natural inclination. That's the reason why, isn't it something to wonder nga ang isda imong kanon ang isda usar ka buok, but if you happen to actually catch a fish, imong gitanaw ang sud sa iyang tiyan, daghang kay itlog, no? Millions of itlog. Mayong tapay-tapay, ang tapay-tapay di man na manganak og usara, no? Kani mga spider di manganak og usa, dinaghan. Ari po tag frogs, di pod man nanganak og ginagmay ang frogs, no? Dinaghan pod. Yang anong ang tao manganak tag usa ra man, labing dagan upat. Maybe the God has his own purpose, has his own reason nganong gi-design niya nga ingon ana. And if you are going to think about it logically, tinuod man sad pod, no? Kay og pareha ang tao manganak og samas isda, awa na mas maglabi ang daghan na kayong tao niya, it would eventually cause this what we call scarcity, no? Mawad-an tag mga pagkaon. So it's reasonable also coming from his own reason na yang i-create in that way. Reproduction, that's the reason why nga, pero wala siya nagsuggest, no, nga when we say reproduction, of course manganak lang ta nga manganak, no? Of course we have to apply this what we call reason, no, the common sense. We have to apply with what is reasonable. Like for example, mingon tag reproduction, of course dili lang giningon pataka lang tag paanak-anak, no? Manganak tag daghan ana, no? Kay usahay naman gitawag dira, no? We have the rule number 1, life preservation, self-preservation. So if you are kanino practicing anang panganak, bahala na wa kay pakian na nila, meaning to say you're not helping them to preserve their life. Because if you cannot feed those people, then of course you're not trying to preserve them, no, you're trying to make them become miserable. So it's important also that we have to use our common sense how we are going to apply reproduction in a very appropriate way. Next, we have educate one's offspring. It's very important, no? gani kani usa po ni siya no sa self-preservation at usang ma-associate. You have to educate everyone because kanino kaning kita tao no ato matudluan natong anak no sa paghimo og ilang kaugalingong pagkaon, pagpangitaw og kaugalingong nalang pagkaon, kaning kwarta, no? Pagpananom, pag-ihap. So what's the purpose? To prepare for them for the future, no? For them to become ready. Other than that, no, is it enough to actually educate them with what is applicable for survival? Also, we have to feed them with saman, moral values. It's very important. Part po na siya. So, mo nag-ingon no nga if you can afford to teach them how to catch fish, then also teach them this what we call moral values because it's very important sa ilang kinabuhi. No? Di man po ta pwede nga magpadako lang tagtao, sobraan ka bright, but when it comes to heart, walay dili ka ba mo sunod, dili ka balo mo respeto, dili ka balo mo sa nga nani, muhatag og importansya po sa pagbati sa uban. So of course, that's useless. No? Next, seek God. Of course, no, gitudlo ko diha, no? Seek God. So by teaching moral values, by what is this? By letting the child know that there is that someone who governs everything. Kana, no? That's the good thing about that one. Because with that, he will be directed. He will eventually know what is the purpose of this natural law and how this natural law plays a vital role or an importance towards the society, towards anything that surrounds him. Number 5, live in society. Of course, we have to interrelate with other people. Man is social animals according to Socrates. So therefore, part na ni siya sa ato ang inclination, natural inclination that we have to correlate with others. Now, try to observe animals, no? It might happen that we cannot actually understand or if we do not know the fact that the animals are actually talking from each other, no? So by just looking at them in a flock, no? Like for example, mingutag sheep, nagtapok sila. Kanya, nagtapok ang mga sheep, maybe no ako na sila ilang kaugalingon language, but wala kita kabalo, no? So it's just like the other creations also. Pareha ng isda, magtapok sila, magpuyog sila. How comes? Nga sila yung idea, anak. So we, as a human being, of course, I do believe in this. Though there are some people who would actually prefer, no, to celebrate their life in a solitude way, no, in a solitary way. Ang mga tao mo prefer to sila no nga mag-inusara, but it's nice to actually celebrate sometimes, no. A short period of time that you can give yourself a space, no? Especially kung you are confused or you're trying to think deeply, no? Na kay mga laom kayo nga mga hunahunahon nga mga plano. So if that could actually help you to what is this to have that very great experience of self introspection, then go for it, no? But one thing is for sure, always remember this one, that you need to communicate with other people. And that's part of our kanang gitawag nato og natural inclination. Next, avoid offense. No, ganito naman ni sa Biblia pod, no? Ayaw pagpatay. Di mo panginauton ang manggad sa imong isig ka tawo, dili mangabit, no? Love your brothers, love your enemies. So meaning to say, appeal ni siya, no? Natong natural inclination. You have to avoid offense. Of course, I could say they are interdependent from the other rules that exist in these 7 basic rules. Like example, life. Okay, if you are trying to harm someone, normally you are trying to harm your life. No, you are not helping yourself to preserve it. No, okay. Ang mga tao, mo na yung uso ni patay dito, bawas dito. So it's because of this kaning offense, no? If if you can actually commit this very serious offense, then of course napo siya bugti. So that's the reason why as much as possible, no, live your life in a way that you're trying to promote peace, no? You're trying to promote brotherhood. You're trying to promote this what we call compassion towards your fellow men. Number 7, shun ignorance. Do not be sloth. No? Do not be tamad. No? It's dako kayog sala na to ning tao, no? Shun ignorance. Like for example, even to the idea of Socrates, no? Knowing thyself, no? Gingon nito, the unexamined life is not worth living for a man. So meaning to say, how can we examine our life? We have to do something. You have to carry your feet and let your feet move forward. And with that, no, in every single step that you do, of course, there is always an opportunity that actually knocks on you. No? If you do not learn how to do something for yourself, to improve, to be developed, then your life will be turned out to be useless. Okay, next, we have, of course, no, same as that, for coming from the basic goods, there's always this butang ba, gitawag nato og magkatumbas, no? If there is that prohibition, do not kill, of course, there is that positive injunction, promote life, no? Don't prevent reproduction, of course. It actually suggests everyone to procreate. Okay? Next, divine command theory is equivalent to theory of natural law. Yan, no? Ang kasuguan sa Dios, ang gilatag sa Dios nga kasuguan para siya mga creation is katumbas sa kaning gitawag na og natural law. If God created us to seek good, and if we're built with the ability to recognize and seek it, then why do people violate the natural law all the time? So it's a very good question, no? Aquinas answered also. Even though we are created kaning gitawag nato no with common sense, but still we cannot deny the fact that it is part on us by nature as a human being, no, nga makasala ta because of these two. Number 1, we have ignorance, and number 2, we have emotion. I said sometimes we seek that what we think is good, but we were wrong because we're just ignorant. Tinuod man yun, no? Like for example, tagaan tamo og specific scenario. Naitaw na nga nangayog kwarta ninyo, no? Kay wala siya kapriti padung syudad, hilak puting hilak niya. Kung tuod man, imo siyang gitagaan, no? To think the person is a stranger, but because of that, imo siyang gitagaan. Now, pag-abot sa bus, nagkatawa tong tao, ni duol ang babae nimo og ningon nga imo mo tong gitagaan sa kwartay nga nagpatik-atik raman to siya. Naamo dito siya kwartay, yaram tong alibay. Ningon man ka, wa mo ko kabalo gud o kabalo pa lang ko di ko mohatag. So of course, di na ma-apply nitong ignorance. If only you know the thing, of course, you cannot allow yourself to commit mistakes. Okay? Next, emotion. Even though we are rational creatures, we have that reasoning ability. No, we have that highest form of intellect, but still we are also emotional creatures, and sometimes we see what we should do, but emotion overpowers our reason, and we fail to do the things we should know. No? Naay tao, no, bisag kapila na nakasala sa imuha, no, dili gyapon mawagtang ang imong pagsalig, di gyapon mawala ang imuhang kaluoy, no? Nga naman imong ipairal ang imong emotion, no, that everyone are capable of committing mistake, no, that we should not actually count, but instead allow the person, no, to change himself, allow the person to make himself realize about his mistake. Mo may naa sa tong prinsipyo, no, nga tumang gipairal ang atong emotion. And if you're going to ask me personally, is it wrong to actually have this emotion? Of course, this is part of who we are. No, we cannot actually separate this one, because if human being separate from this what we call emotion, most of the time katong hubuon kining gitawag nato emotion, of course it becomes, or it will lead the person to become ruthless, I'm sorry, no, hintag ruthless, of course what tay kasing-kasing, no, because di man ta mo realize atong emotion. And some with that, no, we have to respect also, because we look upon this what we call natural law. God created us having that kind of emotion, that the functionality. So therefore, we have to also make use of that. But what is the requirement there? Of course, always be rational, always be reasonable. So adto gihapon, ato gihapon gakson, ato gihapon nga i-adapt kining gitawag na to og virtue, the doctrine of the mean. So dapat dili masubraan sa emotion ug dili pod magkuwang sa emotion. Now let's proceed. Divine command theory or theory of natural law, it tells us answers on a grounding problem. It tells us that it is grounded in God, that He created the moral order. It also gives us reason to be moral. Following the natural law makes our lives work better. Okay, so the end. I hope you have learned something from our discussion today. Thank you so much and happy weekend, everyone. God bless you.